because it's got this sugar. The tubers have this sugar that is difficult. Well, it doesn't digest much. It's called inulin, and it passes through the body. It gives a sweet taste, but most of it passes through without being absorbed. So for diabetics, it's something that works out.
Hi, my name is Susan Utes, and I operate Local Harvest CSA and ZJ Farm, and we have 80 acres here on the farm. The majority of what's in production is used for vegetables. So of that 80, I'm doing 4 to 6 acres of vegetables. I have about 30 acres in pasture for my sheep flock. I have 30 ewes, and I market the lamb from the ewes. And the rest of the land is in the CRP program, Conservation Reserve Program, and we have a portion of that in Prairie. My primary operation that I make my income from is from the vegetable production. And I started my CSA in 1996. Started the planning for it. My first year of actually distribution of vegetables was in 1997. Started with 18 families, and we've increased in size all the way up to 300 a few years ago, 300 shares, and at this point we're quite small at 150 shares. So it's kind of, part of it's, my children used to work a lot with me, and they've all gone off to college and or jobs, and my labor force has changed. And so as a consequence of that, I tried to find a balance that works for me, and the 150 shares is where we're at right now. We distribute to Cedar Rapids, to 2 drop sites in Cedar Rapids, to Iowa City and North Liberty. We have 2 harvest days, Mondays and Thursdays. To make money in this, I've been a full-time farmer, raised 4 children doing this, and there's a real narrow profit margin certainly, but it's really about efficiency. So over the years, we've developed some practices that have really improved our bottom line, I would say. We have typically a small labor force. I rarely have, in terms of the number of people that work here, on average we have what would be equivalent of 2.5 people in terms of a standard 40-hour week, and then myself on top of that. And I work considerably more than 40 hours a week, but so that's kind of, that gives you a picture of, even when we had 300 shares, we were typically not over 3 full-time people. So our process really involves what we do in the field, making sure that in the field we're using the most efficient practices, and then as we're taking the produce out of the field, we want to see that we're handling it as little as possible. So our goal is to handle it once, really, if we can manage that. We developed some techniques that worked for us in terms of cooling. It doesn't involve a lot of washing. We didn't have a good system that I was comfortable with for washing. We do have a better system now, but at the same time, we discovered that we could actually harvest early. My crew opts to start on hot days at 6:30. We've started earlier than that sometimes. We harvest with the dew on. So for example, in the morning we'll start with the cool weather crops, and we'll harvest kale first. Kale and collards, lettuces will all be harvested first. And those crops, especially if they're in the field, have dew on them, and we take the kale right out of the field, put it right into these coolers that you see over here. It goes into the coolers and then into the walk-in. And amazingly, we take the covers off the coolers and they stay cool in those coolers. But what it means is that we have a lot less handling. We can get our harvest done a whole lot faster because we're not washing things. And so finally they put a fishing line, tied its leg with fishing lines. So you can see she's cutting with one hand and holding on to it with the other, checking it for dirt or anything, and then putting it straight in the cooler. Fishing line
The way you do your CSA, where the people pick their own stuff, I'm just thinking, you know, CSAs I know in central Iowa, it's boxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in order to make yours work, do people have to show up kind of in the same hour or
Yes.
something?
Our people all come, we have a very short window of time. We've discovered that if we give them a shorter time period, they come, whereas if we spread it out, it's not cost effective for us to be there. I'm determined to be at all my job sites, at least to meet my people and to have an interaction with them. And so as a consequence, if I'm going to be there, then I want my pickup time to be short. So my sites, like I have 65 people that come to my Iowa City site, and we have 1 hour, and everybody gets there and gets it done, and they socialize and we socialize, and it's a great time. It's interesting. I think people get a sense that they're getting to choose a little bit what they're getting.
More like a grocery store or a direct market. Yeah.
And especially on the greens. Greens are a big issue for a lot of CSAs. When they put greens into a box, people, that will be their complaint, is, you know, well, I got too much kale, I got too much of this or that, you know. And in our case, we're putting greens, our kale and our collards are charred, and if we have mustards, any of those big greens, they go into a cooler, and people, it's bulk. So people are not told you can only have a certain amount. They're told you can take whatever you can use. And so some people will take 2 leaves of kale, and some people will take 20. And it all balances out. It's very interesting.
On your website, do you ever do things like recipes and this kind of stuff for people who just don't know what to do with kohlrabi or kale or whatever?
Yep. We send a newsletter with recipes. And then we do a lot of talking about it. Because I'm there and I have people trained at my job sites that have been working with me for a considerable amount of time, they're talking to people about what they do with the vegetables. And it's also amazing, I have people that have been with me for, 12 years. And so a newcomer comes up and says, I don't know what to do with kohlrabi. And immediately my person who's been with me that long will go, oh, you can do this, and they'll get all excited and tell them about it. And my members send me recipes, and I share those recipes with other people. So there's a lot of interaction that goes on by doing our job site that way.
So websites are good, but the personal is really hard to beat. I don't see the little bugger in here, but I think this is squash vine borer.
You think so?
Yep. Yeah, all the kind of frassy stuff and the bacteria that's secondary after the infection. There. I feel like the squash vine borer. There was a spot there right at the ground level where he went in. That's pretty typical.
Okay.
Yeah. You can put out a pheromone trap that will monitor for them. It's called a heart stack trap.
Really? Okay.
So you have never fenced for deer?
No, we kind of live with the deer. I take the dogs out on a regular basis and walk the fields, and that helps.
Oh, sure.
And then we harvest a lot of deer during the season, and we also have depredation permits to shoot them off season.
So you yourself are doing that, or other people?
My sons and some neighbors, yeah. We do it when we need to, when we've really got a problem deer. Most of the time, it's caused by 1 or 2.
But just develop a habit.
Right, and they're the ones that we have to take care of. And we feel bad.
Passes through the body, it gives a sweet taste, but most of it passes through without being absorbed. So for diabetics, it's something that works out.
Yeah, these just, I started.